You remember falling off your bike when you were 5, don't you? That feeling.
Oh, yeah. Clear as day, almost.
Or like the smell of your grandmother's house, your first heartbreak.
Mm-hmm. The big ones.
But what if those memories, what if they weren't entirely yours?
That's quite a thought to start with.
Right. We've all got these, vivid snapshots. They make up who we are. But today we're doing a deep dive into something that, well, it could flip that whole idea on its head.
You mean the possibility that our memories aren't as reliable?
Exactly. Or maybe not even ours. That they might not be as unique to us as we think.
It's a genuinely fascinating idea. A bit dizzying, maybe, to think the stories we tell ourselves, our whole identity might have roots we don't even know about. And the material we looked at, it really digs into this, not just how our memories can, play tricks on us.
Which they definitely do.
Oh, absolutely. But it also goes into this hypothetical space. Could memories actually be, transferred?
Yeah.
Or shared somehow?
Exactly. So that's our mission today, to unpack these ideas. We'll look at what makes memory so squishy. Is that the right word?
Squishy works.
No.
Malleable? Maybe?
Malleable. Okay. And then we wade into the more mind-bending stuff. Where could these other memories, if they exist, even come from?
Getting people thinking differently about that internal movie reel.
That's the goal. Okay, so let's start with something solid. Or, well, something backed by research anyway. The idea that our memories are not great. The source text calls the brain terrifyingly unreliable.
It's a strong phrase, isn't it?
It is. Why so dramatic?
Well, I think it's the gap between how we feel about our memories, like they're perfect recordings,
Right, like a video camera.
Exactly. But the science, cognitive science, it shows they're much more dynamic, less like a file you just open.
And it's always the same.
Yes. More like a document you're constantly editing. Every single time you remember something, you're not just playing it back. You're rebuilding it.
Reconstructing it.
Precisely. And that process, that reconstruction, it's surprisingly easy to influence by suggestions, by later experiences, all sorts of things.
Right, and the text mentions some honestly kind of disturbing examples.
The false memory studies.
Yeah, implanting memories of committing crimes that people genuinely believed.
It's unsettling research, for sure.
Yeah.
Or convincing them they went on family vacations that just never happened.
I even read one about a made-up childhood pet. People remember details about it.
It vividly illustrates that point the text makes. You're not remembering, you're rewriting.
Wow. Okay. So you're constantly editing your own past without even realizing it.
That's the key. And it's not just tiny details. It can be like major events, wholesale invention almost.
So if our own brains can mess things up that badly.
Then it kind of opens the door, doesn't it, to these wilder what-ifs.
Like the main one here. The idea that the life you think you lived was somehow downloaded, like software.
It's a huge leap, obviously. But that baseline unreliability of memory, it kind of gives you a little runway to even consider these more speculative ideas.
It's a real head-scratcher, though, this idea that your feelings, your skills, maybe they didn't come from your experience.
Originated somewhere else entirely.
And the text hints there might be clues, little signs that something like this maybe could be happening.
Yeah, it throws out some breadcrumbs, like that sudden, really strong feeling of familiarity with a total stranger.
Oh, I've had that. It's weird.
Right, more than just, oh, they look like someone I know. It's deeper, like you know them, but you don't. Or knowing your way around a new place, like intimately. You just navigate it confidently, but you've never been there before.
Okay, that's stranger, like an instinct you shouldn't have.
Exactly, an intuition about the layout.
And what about déjà vu? Everyone gets that, right? That feeling of, I've done this exact thing before.
Totally common. But the text kind of pushes on it, suggesting, what if it's not just a brain glitch?
What else could it be?
Maybe, just maybe, a flicker, an echo of a moment from somewhere else, from a past that isn't strictly yours.
That's a very different frame for a common feeling.
It is. And then you have to ask how. How could memories possibly transfer? The text touches on a few theories, some more grounded than others.
Like genetic memory, is that a real thing?
Well, it's a concept. The idea that maybe some ancestral experiences or maybe strong emotional imprints could be passed down somehow, genetically.
Some fears can be, right? Like a fear of snakes, maybe.
Exactly. Basic survival instincts. This theory just stretches that idea further. Could specific feelings, like unexplained grief or a really strong reaction to a smell, could that be inherited memory?
Okay, that feels borderline plausible, at least connected to biology. But then it gets weirder.
It does, like modular memories, the idea that memories are like discrete units, files.
Like computer files.
Sort of, files that could theoretically be copied over, transferred.
Okay, now we're deep in sci-fi territory.
Definitely pushing the known boundaries. But it's a thought experiment, you know? If we think about data transfer in tech, could the brain have some unknown mechanism like that?
Unlikely, but interesting to think about.
And the text doesn't stop there. It mentions even more fringe ideas. Being part of a failed experiment, maybe?
Yikes.
Or your consciousness bleeding over from another timeline? Parallel universe stuff?
Okay, wow.
And the really stark one, being uploaded. Like, your consciousness exists, but you were never actually born in the traditional sense.
Never had a childhood in this life.
Right. These are way out there, obviously. But they show how far you have to go if you start seriously questioning if your memories are your own.
It makes you look at those little inconsistencies in your own life differently, though. The text calls them glitches in the self. And it asks those direct questions. Why do you remember things no one else does?
That happens, right? You swear something happened, but your family says no.
All the time. Or why do certain dreams feel too real? More real than waking life sometimes. Yeah. And why does a random face on the street stir emotions you can't explain?
These are the little anomalies we usually just brush off. A brain fart, a weird mood. But the text says, what if it's something else? Which leads to that recycled consciousness idea.
Which it admits is fringe science.
Absolutely. Very fringe. But the idea is maybe our awareness, our soul, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, maybe it gets reused.
Reincarnation, basically.
Kind of, but with baggage.
Yeah.
Carrying leftover bits from past lives, leftover memories, residual emotions, glitches in the self.
Glitches, like fragments of someone else's life stuck to you.
That's the idea. And the really unsettling part, you might not be the first tenant, so to speak, in your own body.
Ugh. That is genuinely creepy.
It is. And then it gets into maybe more concrete, disturbing signs, things you might actually notice.
Like what?
Like your handwriting suddenly changing significantly, or waking up one day and hating foods you used to love, or craving things you always detested.
Weird. Those seem so fundamental.
Yeah.
Part of you.
They do. Or recognizing songs on the radio you know you've never heard before, but you know the tune, maybe even the words.
Okay, that would freak me out.
And then it escalates. The really jarring stuff, visiting your childhood home, and the layout is just wrong, completely different from how you remember it. Or your parents telling stories about your childhood, maybe where you grew up, and the details are just alien to you. Don't match your memories at all.
So your memory conflicts with physical reality or other people's accounts?
Exactly. Looking at old family photos and the people, the places, they don't quite sync up with your internal images. Or family stories where you're supposedly present, but you have zero recollection. It creates this profound disconnect.
Like you're living someone else's history.
Which leads to that really powerful scenario in the text, finding an old diary.
Okay.
And the handwriting. It looks like yours. Uncannily familiar.
You didn't write it.
You know you didn't. It talks about places you've never been, people you've never met, but reading it stirs something deep inside you, a weird sense of recognition, longing.
Oh, wow.
And that slow, dawning horror the text describes. Your life isn't your life. Your identity is a mask.
That's heavy. A mask covering what?
Someone else's experiences. Or maybe just emptiness. It completely undermines that feeling of having a solid, continuous self.
It makes you question everything you thought was you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the terms it uses, the echo, the shadow, the copy, they really emphasize that feeling. Like you're not the original. You're a secondhand self.
Which loops back to those really chilling questions the text poses. If these memories, these feelings aren't yours, then where are yours?
Yeah. Where did your original experiences go?
Were they erased somehow? Wiped clean?
Or are they maybe stuck somewhere else? In someone else's head?
God, that's a weird thought. Your memory's living in a stranger.
Or the bleakest possibility. Maybe you were never meant to have your own unique set. Maybe you never got the chance to form them.
These are the questions that, they could keep you up at night. Seriously unsettling.
Deeply. And that darker implication follows. Maybe we're just part of this long chain, a long line of recycled minds.
Recycled mind, like consciousness on a loop.
Yeah. Born simply to hold space, carrying these fragments, these remnants of others who came before. It challenges our whole idea of individuality, of purpose even.
It suggests we're less unique, less autonomous than we believe.
Potentially, yeah. Both fascinating and, frankly, a bit terrifying.
So when you really absorb all of that, The sheer weight of it, the text puts it so bluntly. You thought you were one person, but you're thousands.
Oof. Yeah, that hits hard, a composite being.
It just forces you to reconsider what self even means. If it's tied to memory, and memory is this unreliable, potentially borrowed thing,
Right.
then what are you?
What truly constitutes you? If the foundation, your memories, might not be entirely yours, it's a fundamental question.
It definitely leaves you with a ton to chew on, wrapping up this dive into unreliable memory and maybe transferred experiences. That final thought the text leaves us with is potent.
It really is. It cuts right to the heart of our personal story, doesn't it? Makes you question the narrative itself.
So next time you wake up from a dream, one that feels just a little too real,
Yeah.
ask yourself, whose memory was that? Because the story of your life, well, it might not be yours to tell.
Definitely gives you a new lens, doesn't it, on your own past, your own identity.
For sure. Something to think about.